Hey everyone, Dr. Alex James here, and welcome back to Psychology Hub. I'm really glad you're tuning in today, because we're diving deep into a topic that holds incredible power over our lives and relationships. Attachment. It's something that affects all of us, whether we know it or not, and once we understand it, it can be life-changing. You might be wondering, what does attachment really mean? Why does it matter so much? Well, attachment refers to the emotional bond we form with our primary caregivers early in life, and these early bonds shape the way we connect with others throughout our lives. They determine how we feel in relationships, how we deal with conflict, and even how we understand our own emotions. Understanding attachment isn't just for psychologists. It's for everyone who wants to build healthier, more fulfilling connections in their personal and professional lives. So, let's break this down and make it a little more relatable. What is attachment really? From the moment we are born, humans are wired for connection. Think about it. When a baby is born, they can't feed themselves, they can't talk, and they certainly can't navigate the world on their own. But the one thing they do have is an innate ability to form emotional bonds. This bond, usually with our caregivers, helps us survive physically, emotionally, and socially. In fact, our emotional development is built on these early relationships. At the core, we need these connections to thrive. A baby's first experiences of love, care, and comfort will lay the foundation for their emotional health for the rest of their life. And the way our caregivers respond to us, whether they're there when we cry, how they comfort us when we're scared, or how they help us make sense of our big feelings, sets the stage for how we will later relate to the world. In other words, attachment is a blueprint. It's a map that guides how we form relationships, cope with stress, and express ourselves as we grow older. The impact of early attachments. You've probably heard people talk about attachment in the context of childhood, but it doesn't stop there. The patterns we form as children often carry into adulthood. If you think about it, your first relationships with caregivers are kind of like training wheels for navigating the more complex world of adult relationships. When we experience healthy emotional bonds with our caregivers, we internalize positive patterns that allow us to build trusting, resilient relationships later on. But if those early experiences are marked by inconsistency, neglect, or trauma, we may struggle to trust others or form healthy emotional connections. Take a moment to think about your own relationships, especially those that are closest to you. Do you feel emotionally safe with your partner? Do you find yourself seeking out reassurance from your friends, or perhaps avoiding emotional intimacy altogether? Your attachment style is likely playing a big role in how you approach those connections. The 4 major attachment styles. Now that we have a general understanding of attachment, let's talk about the 4 major attachment styles that develop based on those early interactions with caregivers. These are secure attachment, insecure-avoidant attachment, insecure-anxious attachment, and insecure-disorganized attachment. Each of these styles shapes how we feel, behave, and respond in relationships as adults. So, let's break them down one by one and see how they show up in real life. 1. Secure attachment. The autonomous adult. The first attachment style is secure attachment, and it's the one that we all strive for. When we're securely attached, we feel confident in our relationships, we trust others, and we can regulate our own emotions effectively. It's like having a solid emotional foundation that can withstand life's ups and downs. In childhood, a securely attached child grows up with caregivers who are consistently responsive and emotionally available. These caregivers know how to stay calm in stressful situations, and they model how to handle emotions in a balanced way. For example, when a baby is upset, their parent picks them up, comforts them, and helps them understand what they're feeling. This teaches the child that their feelings are valid, and they can rely on their caregivers to help them navigate those emotions. Secure attachment also involves the balance of independence and connection. Securely attached children feel comfortable exploring the world around them, knowing they can always return to their caregivers for comfort and reassurance. This fosters a sense of self-worth and confidence. In adulthood, as adults, those who experienced secure attachment tend to be able to self-regulate their emotions and don't feel overwhelmed by them. They can handle stress, communicate openly, and seek support when needed without feeling ashamed. In relationships, they have a healthy balance of closeness and independence. They know how to give and receive affection, resolve conflicts in constructive ways, and provide emotional support without being overbearing or distant. For example, if you have secure attachment, when you face a difficult situation in your relationship, say, a disagreement, you're likely able to calmly express your feelings, listen to your partner, and work together to find a solution. You trust that your partner will be there for you, and vice versa. 2. Insecure-avoidant attachment, the I'll do it myself style. The second attachment style is insecure-avoidant attachment, and it often develops when a caregiver is emotionally unavailable or unresponsive. A child with an avoidant attachment style learns that their emotional needs are not important. So, they begin to suppress their emotions and rely more on themselves rather than seeking comfort or support from others. In childhood, for a child with avoidant attachment, their caregiver might ignore their emotional distress or be unresponsive when they need comfort. For example, a parent might be physically present but emotionally distant or dismissive. This leads the child to develop a strategy of emotional self-reliance. The child learns that the only way to avoid rejection or disappointment is to keep their emotions to themselves and not rely on others. In adulthood, as adults, those with avoidant attachment often have difficulty expressing their emotions and might come across as distant or aloof. They may have a hard time trusting others with their feelings and might avoid intimacy or conflict. In relationships, they tend to keep their partners at arm's length, and they might feel uncomfortable with emotional closeness or vulnerability. For example, in a romantic relationship, someone with avoidant attachment might withdraw when their partner tries to get too close or talk about their feelings. They may have a deep internal longing for connection, but feel overwhelmed or suffocated by the emotional intensity of the relationship. As a result, they might retreat, believing that independence is the only way to protect themselves. 3. Insecure anxious attachment, the please don't leave me style. Next is the insecure anxious attachment style. This attachment style develops when a caregiver is inconsistent in their responses to a child's emotional needs. Sometimes the caregiver is attentive, but other times they're emotionally distant or unpredictable. This leads the child to feel uncertain about whether their needs will be met, and they often end up becoming overly dependent on others for emotional reassurance. In childhood, a child with anxious attachment may experience love and attention from their caregiver, but it's not always consistent. When the caregiver is warm and loving, the child feels safe. But when the caregiver is emotionally unavailable or distracted, the child feels abandoned and confused. This inconsistency teaches the child to constantly seek reassurance, even when they don't need it, and it leads to emotional anxiety. In adulthood. As adults, those with anxious attachment often struggle with feelings of insecurity in their relationships. They might feel like they're constantly seeking validation from their partner or friends. They may worry about being abandoned, even when there's no reason to believe that will happen. They can be clingy or overly dependent on others for emotional support. For example, if a person with an anxious attachment style doesn't hear from their partner for a few hours, they might start to feel panicked and wonder if something's wrong. They may feel like they need to check in constantly, or worry that their partner doesn't love them as much as they love them. In some cases, they might push their partner away by over-demanding attention, which can lead to frustration and conflict. 4. Insecure-disorganized attachment. The I want you but I'm afraid style. The final attachment style is insecure-disorganized attachment, which is often the result of trauma or abuse in childhood. A child with disorganized attachment has a caregiver who is both a source of comfort and fear. This creates confusion for the child, who is unsure whether their caregiver will be a source of safety or danger. In childhood. A child with disorganized attachment might experience a caregiver who is abusive, neglectful, or emotionally unpredictable. This causes the child to feel both a deep longing for connection and an intense fear of the caregiver. The child might want to seek comfort, but also be terrified of getting too close because of the emotional or physical pain they've experienced. This creates a push-pull dynamic. The child wants to be loved, but is afraid of being hurt. In adulthood. As adults, people with disorganized attachment tend to struggle with trust and feel emotionally unstable in their relationships. They might long for connection, but simultaneously feel a deep fear of abandonment or betrayal. They often experience emotional turbulence and can have difficulty distinguishing between safe and unsafe relationships. They may find themselves in unhealthy, chaotic relationships that mirror the emotional instability they experienced in childhood. For example, someone with disorganized attachment might seek out a relationship, only to push their partner away once they get too close. They might have a deep desire for love and connection, but also fear being vulnerable because of past trauma. This leads to emotional confusion, making it difficult to form lasting, stable relationships. Wrapping up attachment theory is incredibly powerful because it gives us insight into why we do what we do in relationships. Our early experiences with caregivers shape the way we interact with the world and with other people throughout our lives. Understanding your own attachment style and how it plays out in your relationships can help you break free from unhealthy patterns and build more secure, fulfilling connections. The good news is that healing is possible. Whether you have a secure or insecure attachment style, you can learn to become more aware of your emotional patterns and make intentional changes. Understanding attachment is the first step toward healthier relationships and emotional well-being. If you'd like to explore more on this topic or dive into practical tools for improving your relationships, let me know in the comments below. And, as always, if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from it. Until next time, take care of yourself and the people you love.